And welcome in. It is hashtag Real Race Talk, the Revved Up Sports Show. Another Monday as we dive in, going to talk just great racing excitement coming off of a big race weekend that we just had. Lots of things that were going on, and things continue to circulate. And not only that, it's Thanksgiving week, my man. Bobby, I got to tell you, Showtime Bobby Chaffee over there. As you look at him, he's on the right side. I'm Roddy Rodriguez over on the left side. I got to tell you, Bobby, I know that people get all jazzed up about Christmas and everything, but to me, Thanksgiving is kind of my gig, man. I love Thanksgiving. It's always been a favorite holiday of mine.
I don't know, dude. I kind of go into cruise control after Halloween, because after that, don't get me wrong. I mean, I enjoy spending time with family and stuff like that, and enjoy a couple of extra days off from the office. But I don't know, dude. Everybody, you can only hear so many Christmas songs they're playing, before you get to Thanksgiving, and then it just kind of it's almost that Thanksgiving's too commercialized. Christmas is damn sure over commercialized for sure, but I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, I don't know. I try not to get caught up in the season, much less, try to experience the moment, I guess would be the better way to say it.
Yeah, I'm very much where, to me, the holidays that I enjoy are Memorial Day. And by the way, Canada now apparently in 2026 into that mix. I think we talked about that last week. I like Memorial Day weekend. I like the 4th of July. I like Thanksgiving. I like all of those random ones. I mean, I know people get all into Christmas, and it's because, wow, what am I going to get for a Christmas present? It ain't about that. I like to eat. I like football, although football has now worked itself into Christmas. So that's a pretty big deal right there. So I totally get that. But I really have gotten to the point to where I'm like, look, like you said, Halloween ends, and it's like, man, we're not even close to carving the bird yet. And you got the Christmas trees and the Christmas carols and the Christmas songs. And I'm like, dude.
Hobby Lobby has Christmas stuff at 4th of July.
Yeah, man, forget that shit. I mean, come on. To me, Thanksgiving is really, really cool. A lot of reasons I like it, and that's coming up. And we can talk to the folks in the chat line. Of course, the chat lines are all opened up to where folks tell us what you like for Thanksgiving, because I know with my wife, it was something with Tracy when she became a part of our family, Hispanic family. I mean, we do the turkey, we do the ham, we do all that stuff, dressing, all that. But then it becomes very Mexicanized towards like beans and carnita and rice and all these different things. And she's like, wait a minute, what is this? So you guys feel free to tell us what's going on with your.
You do carnitas on Thanksgiving?
Well, we do beans with carnita, beans with. It's really cool thing that my aunt does that kind of whips all that together and puts a little twist on there that my grandmother always did, when she was still around, and they've carried on that tradition to where it's a really cool stuff. Very unorthodox. I mean, we do the rolls and deviled eggs and all that stuff, but it is a very different vibe if you're not used to that.
Yeah, don't put me in a room with you and deviled eggs after about 2 hours. Good Lord.
Deep fried turkey. So that right there is something that comes up a lot of times when folks talk about if you're going to bake a turkey, if you're going to fry a turkey, what you're going to do with that, because it's there's a lot of back and forth. And Bobby, I know a lot of people that have just kind of ditched the whole turkey thing. I know people that eat duck. I know people that have venison. I know people that just have a damn brisket. So it's like, I mean, the Mayflower and the Thanksgiving and all, you kind of got to keep that going on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when it comes down to it, sometimes, you got to figure out, like, we do a turkey and a ham, but yet we definitely do a ham, during Christmas too. So I think it just kind of varies on the tradition and stuff like that. Like, I know the other day we did a quick early Thanksgiving with my dad down at the hospital. We had the ham, had the turkey, had the stuffing, the dressing, to make mashed potatoes, all the green bean casserole, just your typical normal stuff that you get for Thanksgiving. But that's the stuff that's lined up with the in-laws. In-laws will make my mother-in-law makes homemade lemon meringue and chocolate pie.
Oh yeah,
like we'll sit there on the night before of Thanksgiving Eve and sit there and squeeze fresh lemons into lemon meringue pie. Makes a couple of them. It's pretty damn good, I gotta say.
Ain't nothing like squeezing your lemons the night before Thanksgiving, my man. That it's a pretty good. That's a pretty good thought right there. We I think what we've kind of reverted to, we always do a banana pudding. There's always somebody that does a banana pudding. That they do that, and then the Birdall, the Birdall Farms thing out there in Bastrop County. Somebody always makes a trip out there, and they get the pecan. They get a pecan, lemon, all of that. Pie's got to have a thing right there, but to me, Bobby, it gets really hard because I have to pace myself because I can sit there and hammer down and just like I start eating and it's like, dude, I'm done. But to pace yourself. And then with the football thing, because see, this year I wish that they would let the Cowboys and the Giants play early and let Detroit play later because I mean, the Cowboys and the Giants, geez, come on, man. It's kind of a cock block. But anyway, it's you got to figure in the football part that all factors into that as well. So it's just a really good time. I mean, it is. It's family, food, football. Put it in whatever effing order that you want to, and it's just a really good time. Thursday's always a really fun time.
Yeah, and then it's the week before the Derby starts too, so that gets you kind of fired up too.
Yeah, because and speaking of that, I mean, on the show tonight, coming up at 6:45, which is about 5 minutes or 6 from now, going to talk to not necessarily the Derby, but a guy that's been associated with the Derby in the past. Ricky Brooks will join us. You got the Big League 128 Memorial coming up at Freedom Factory for the UARA the Super Late Models and Sportsmen. Ricky's going to talk, and you never know what Ricky may tell us. So we'll talk with him. Then more in the lines of Derby. At 7:10 or 8:10 Eastern, you get Memphis Villarreal, which we were going to talk to Memphis about his success this past weekend. Well, Memphis now lost one of those rides. So we'll get some ins and outs on that because he said full disclosure, hashtag real race talk. He said, Rodney, it's hashtag real race talk. I'm going to talk about it. So thank you, Memphis. And then coming up around 30, the bottom of the hour, we're going to Jared Maupin. Jared Maupin will join in, and that I think that's a really good story right there. So very loaded program that we have tonight. Looking forward to it.
There's always get a locked and loaded wrap for the holidays. So everybody wanting to have a good time, just like we always do every single week right here. Pick your channel and tune in every week right around 6:30 every single Monday, unless something happens. But
that's right.
Generally, like clockwork on the Mondays.
Don't mess around. And if you were on the audio only app, which is the Texas Sports Unfiltered app, there is the Dakota text line because now Circuit of the Americas, part of this program as well, 222-9328, area code 512, El Clave 512. I don't know what that clicking is behind in the background. But
I thought it was me, but I hit mute, so maybe
it's probably mine. 512-222-9328 if you're on the Texas Sports Unfiltered audio deal right there. Bobby, one thing that I want to talk about, there's lots of things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Florence race. I want to talk about everything that went down there. And of course, here we are after the Mike Tyson fight to where we're in another situation where we're talking about streaming and we're talking about where things maybe didn't work out the way that they were supposed to. Kind of want to dive into that because people are beating up Flow Sports, Flow Racing, the best in the world. I wouldn't have thought that reading social media on Saturday night and Sunday. And there we go with the keyboard thing. Flow is the best. Not that day, according to them. Wasn't a Flow problem. We'll talk about that. Do want to talk about, of course, the Corpus Christi South Texas Shootout. You had that going on. We could talk to Jared a little bit about that. Indianapolis 500 with a big announcement. So we'll get into that as well. And lots more. So a very loaded show. Bobby, I do want to mention, because we haven't given the love that we need to in the past to this, because we do have our Revved Up Fantasy League that we have at RevvedUpSportsShow.com. And let me see if I can get over here to do this. I'm going to try to do this. We need to figure out who TX Rebel is. I think I know who that is. But
because 5 points over Sonny. Wow.
Yeah, how about that? So, and then Jaron and your wife over there in the top 5, crying out loud. Come on, man.
She kicks my ass. She kicks my ass in fantasy racing.
Well, look there. She kicked mine too. So we need TX Rebel. I think I know who that is. I don't want to say the name in case I'm wrong, but we want to get Dwayne Markgraf. I think that's you. Get a hold of me. Get a hold of Bobby. One of us. We've got a Revved Up prize pack for you. We've got T-shirts. We've got caps. We've got all that for being the champion of that. We've I've failed in the past to not get all that together, but TX Rebel, we want to get that for you because man, it got a little spicy right there. And here's the playoffs, the way they worked out. I mean, TX Rebel dominating in the playoffs, but yeah, won them both, and that's that's about all you can ask for at this point.
Yeah, that's about all you can ask for, to be dominant like that. So
yeah.
I like finishing dead last in fantasy racing. Yeah.
Well,
it takes about 30 seconds for me to make my lineup. I put a lot of thought into it. Maybe I should concentrate a little harder like I do in fantasy football.
It's for me with that is I think about it a lot, and I'm in a big money league right now for football for straight up pick 'em. I mean, just straight up picking wins, and I have somehow put myself in a position of second place, 3 games back, to win about $4,500, and it's like I see that, and I'm like, it was a big buy-in. It was one of those things I got goaded into. My man Ike Coronas runs a couple of Domino's franchises here. He hits me up at the right time. He's like, "You need to sign up and do this." Well, I paid the buy-in and I did it. And I paid attention. And Bobby, what happens to me is when I start paying attention is when I start screwing up.
Overthinking it.
I mean, it's like when we talk about racing, it's like these guys that get out there and they start making mistakes. They're overthinking things, and that's what happens to me when it comes to fantasy, because to me, fantasy is a fantasy. And when it comes to fruition, that's when I start making mistakes.
Well, I mean, I try pretty hard with the fantasy football league. Luckily, I mean, I've been able to. I hadn't had worth a damn for receivers last couple of weeks. I think combined they got like 5 points. Versus your boy Cavante Turpin sitting on my bench just got like 30.
My man.
But luckily, luckily I have Saquon Barkley this week, who scored like 75 points. So I'm doing okay. It looks like I'll remain the number 1 seed in the league. So
I ain't claiming Turpin because the Dallas Cowboys need to be tanking right now. And for that dude to be over there running these things back, and we've got onside kicks getting run back. Come on, man. You ain't been able to win all year. Why are you doing it now? Why are you doing this now? I did have, and I was surprised yesterday because my quarterback was off. So I had to insert Mr. Daniels right there. And the dude got me 42 points. I don't know how, but yeah, Taylor's Heroes are on a little bit of a run right now in that league.
Okay, they're not in the basement drillers anymore. So
not in the basement anymore, man. It's some kind of winning streak that we have going on right there. But yeah, that's fantasy sports right there, to where it'll definitely, it changes things, and that's where I think when you get into all the different when it comes to streaming and broadcasting and all that, I think that's where a lot of folks, and we can kind of touch on it before Ricky comes on. I do want to dive in. You had the event in Florida. Shit, I think Ricky just jumped in. So we'll maybe table that and get back to it here in just a second. But we definitely do want to talk about, I mean, that thing that happened right there with Florence, because that's something that was not a very successful thing for them. So let's kind of dive in right here. And I think this is going to be probably audio only. We bring in on the Revved Up Sports Show, big Thanksgiving weekend. So many things going on. We've been talking about all the different events. But coming up at the Freedom Factory, the UARA, they dive in. It is the Bill Bigley Memorial 128. And the man at the helm of that fantastic series, it is our man, Mr. Ricky Brooks. Ricky, how we doing, my man?
Good, Rodney. How you doing?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. How's everything for you and yours here as we get into the week of thankfulness? Nope, lost him there just for there we go. Oh, yeah, lost him for a second. There you are, Bobby, and there is Ricky once again. Ricky, everybody good this week in the Thanksgiving week?
You got me?
Yep, we got you, brother. We got you.
Yeah, everything's good down here. We're all set to go. We start parking rigs on Thursday evening, about 4 o'clock. We'll park rigs for 2 hours for the people coming in from out of town. We got a truck wash set up. They can get their rigs washed once they come in out of the snow.
It's crazy.
Hey, Ricky, what's it like working with Cletus McFarland and those guys? Obviously, they're known for being YouTube sensation and YouTube stars, but he seems like a pretty low-key kind of guy. Seems like he's got a good thing going down there at Freedom Factory.
No, they're great people to work with. Really, I work with Alan, Josh, and Ryan there. Only spoke with Cletus a couple of times, but they're great people to work with.
Ricky, before we get into to the actual, super late model race, I want to talk to you about. I think, man, you have done such a great job with your Sportsman series, and you're going to have a loaded field of those that are going to be going at the Freedom Factory as well. Kind of talk about that, man. Ricky, you have gone in there and you have fixed all the problems that we have with the Outlaws. Your Sportsman, kind of talk about that. That has been really cool to see.
We've had really, really good car count with those guys and girls for several years now. That's why we decided to bring them to the Bigley race. We invited the top 20 in points, and 2 of them couldn't make it. So we added 2 more cars. So we got 20 cars, and any one of those 20 could win the whole deal. Points is on the line. We got 3 people that could win the points. So it's really tight going into that last event. We're looking forward to the Sportsman's moving forward. We're fixing to put out a 3-year rule book, so we're keeping the rules the same for 3 more years with minor changes. So that should help the class grow even more.
I believe that.
That's awesome. The class, well, that makes stability, and a lot of that stability you don't have in racing anymore, with rules not changing for a good number of years. In terms of the Sportsman, has it been the envision that you wanted it to be? I know, like there for a long time, it was like it had all that potential. You took it over, and it like just exploded. Is there extra markets you want to go to with it? Are you trying to keep it, homegrown like it is now? I mean, is there like a super big vision for you going across the country with them, or you just like them where they are now?
Well, the vision for those guys is to stay where we're at. I say 95% of the cars are in Central Florida. Now, that rule package could go elsewhere, but about maybe twice a year, 6-7 hours away is about as far as you want to take those guys, because most of those guys they work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So they can't afford to travel. And that's one thing that makes it so strong down here in Central Florida, is you have local people that supports that deal. And then they also support the local racetracks down here when the series isn't racing.
Mm-hmm. Damn, that kills my Texas idea, Ricky. Anyway, there's always time for that.
It could work in Texas. You just got to build it based on those rules. And like he said earlier, the key is leaving the rules alone. I mean, there's minor changes coming for next year, but that's mainly because I listen to my competitors, and some of it's in race procedure, some of it isn't. But you got to listen to your racers, because they are your customers.
That's right. That's exactly right. RB, so one of the things also with you, before we get to the main event coming up this weekend, I want to talk about Cordele for you. Taking over there in Georgia, that brand new Southern Super Series schedule comes out, and you get the January date there at Cordele. Kind of talk about everything that you guys did there. What a good year and a great year you had taking over that joint.
Yeah, we had a real good year. The car count come back a little faster than we anticipated. The local car count there was pretty strong all year. The event that's starting there in January, that's Speedfest. That's a track rental deal for us. Southern Super Series and CRA will handle that race that weekend on their own.
Absolutely.
So, Ricky, talk about this Central Florida stuff. I mean, I think that everybody knows the Derby and they know Pensacola for super late model racing, but I think that Central Florida region does not get enough credit for producing A, great racers, B, a ton of race cars in every single class, especially the supers. What keeps that from being so publicized? Is it just because everybody's so just memorized by Pensacola, or is it just that it's just the best kept secret in Southern racing right there?
Well, there's a ton of cars in Central Florida. I mean, any given night you could have 20 to 25 cars at a super late model race in Central Florida. The biggest problem in Central Florida is some of the promoters don't work with each other. Some of them do. But that's probably the biggest problem, and why it's not out there as much, because if they would work together a little bit better, car count would be booming. Auburndale has the best car count with super late models outside of what the UARA is doing. Any given weekend, they could have 20 to 25 super late models on a quarter mile, and they do very well there. If other tracks in the deep South would get their head out of their ass per se, then they would do a lot better too. But Auburndale's where it's going on right now in Central Florida, other than with the sportsmen's.
Yeah, no doubt. So Ricky, coming up over the weekend with the Big League 128. I mean, it's one of those things to where folks are like, well, it kind of piggybacks to the Derby. That's actually a win for a lot of these guys. I mean, I think folks don't realize it. What I want to ask you about with this Big League 128, talk about the tires. I mean, because look, I've said it so many times. I know a lot of friends. I've got a lot of friends in Pensacola. That's a tire selling event. Kind of talk about that for you guys. One set of tires for that race. That's badass.
It's one set of tires. Most of them about one set of practice tires. They're only there for 2 days. We feed them on Friday night, and it's got a big purse deal for 128 laps. And that deal's only going to grow. I mean, it's known now, but it's going to be known even better in the future, because going into next year, it's going to be the 10th anniversary.
Yep, absolutely.
So in terms of the Bigley name, I think that a lot of people outside of Florida, they know Billy Jr. From his days running All Pro and stuff like that. But I think that it's always a cool deal when we get a chance to recognize those that had a lasting impact on the sport. I mean, obviously the 128 makes sense and all of that. From the promoter's perspective, how hard is it to try to do that? I mean, are you? I don't want to sound like bad. I mean, you're concerned about the product today, but you still want to honor all the stuff from yesterday, right?
Well, yes, and a lot of things about Bill Sr., in his mind, a lot of my goals are the old school, the same way his and Billy today is. It's to treat the racers right and not keep them there for 3 or 4 days, and they'll come back. And that's exactly what's happening. It's grown every year. We're probably going to set a record car count this year for qualifying of how many cars we got. And there's a lot of people that come back and sponsor that event just because of the family.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because of Ricky, it's because of the family.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. That is a huge deal. Ricky, talk about the purse. I mean, other races, it takes them a long time to get to a really big purse. You're paying $30,000 to win, and it could be more than that for these super late models coming up this weekend. Kind of talk about that part, man. A lot of money on the line this weekend.
Yeah, it's $30,000 to win, $1,200 to start. Like you said, it's a 4-tire race. Langford Lawn puts up $4,000 for the pole, and then if the pole sitter wins the race, he gets a bonus of another $1,000. So that's $35,000 if you set fast time and win the race. And then there's 3 drivers, Dutilli, Sergi, and Atwell. That's got a potential of winning another $1,500 if they win it for the 3rd time.
Damn, that's awesome.
That's great. That's great. I think that I think the race is one of those perfect balances, right? You've got just the number of laps that the fans are entertained. You got just the number of laps that the competitors feel like they have enough time to do a good race, and the money's there. That's hard to get all 3 in one spot for one race. Let's talk about super late model racing as a whole. We kind of touched on it a little bit here with the success in Central Florida. Is it still in a good place now? Economy's rebounding a little bit, or is it got a little room for improvement? I mean, what in your mind? What's the pulse of the super late model community right now?
I think racing in general is good. I mean, the election year is never good for anything. So I think you're going to see racing be strong next year in all aspects, because engine sales are up, chassis sales are up, things are still back ordered. So I think racing's in a good spot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. And Ricky, I think that one of the things is because, down here in Texas, I mean, everything is dirt. I mean, it's all dirt shows, it's big things. I mean, but kind of, it really seems like to me that that super late model balance has kind of been found with UARA and some of the others. You, with the Sportsman, what you have done, you've kind of elevated that into a whole different thing. I think pro late models are in a good place, and you got the Cars Tour for the late model stocks. I think that for pavement racing, I think that we have finally found that balance, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, you're correct. I mean, every bit of it's a balance. My goals and other people's goals are different. I like to treat the racers as customers. I like to do the parties because we need to get it back where the camaraderie is there and people are hanging out, having a good time. Because if we're not having a good time, we're not coming. And that goes for the fans as well.
Yep, agree.
It's just like with the Bigley. We qualify. We have 220 lap heat races. And then for the people that don't get to race the main race, we still have a 50 lap race that they can race in and still get paid a $650 to start. So basically your tires are paid for by starting that 50 lap race.
And, Ricky, I think one of the things that you do so well, and this is where you are very much a racer's guy. I mean, you've been in that seat and you want to take care of the racer. Like you said, that's your customer. I remember in Mobile, we had this big old, Bubba and Steven, they're going to be pissed off at each other. That was immediately squashed. It's like, that is not going to be what we're talking about. By the end of the night, those guys are over there drinking beer together.
Oh, it gets better than that because at the World Crown 300, I parked them side by side by accident. And I mean, it was an accident because when I'm putting stuff on a spreadsheet to try to organize stuff, I'm just putting numbers. I'm not looking at rivalries or anything. And somebody pointed it out to me as I'm parking rigs. I said, it's too late now. I'm sorry. They just got to get over it. And everything was great.
Ricky, I got a promoter question for you from Cordial or even the Bigley portion. How hard is it to get the average everyday Joe Blow to the racetrack? Like the guys that watch NASCAR but don't know that there's a Bigley 128 coming to town. What's the secret sauce to getting those guys off the couch and off the TV into a live racetrack?
That's $1 million question because we try every year hard to get people to the racetrack. I mean, streaming is good, but streaming also can be bad. I think everybody's struggling right now getting people to the racetrack.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, Ricky, I do want to ask your professional opinion. I kind of dropped that hint right there to you. Do you think with the one pavement track in Texas, I know it's a 3/8 where the others, the bigger tracks, do you think that there's a chance? I mean, especially like with your Sportsman, to me in Houston, that would be grand slam if there was a way to make that work. Do you think that we can really pull this off in Texas? Because it used to be really badass around here.
I was coming there teching when it was badass with Mr. Jack. That class would do great in Texas. It really would. But you're going to have to break away from the outlaws that they have now that's too expensive and go with something that's more cost effective.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for saying that. Sorry, Bobby. Had to get that in from somebody that knows because I know nothing. Oh,
that's all right. You're gonna clip that part and have it on your phone to play for it in all the meetings coming up. That's how that's gonna work.
Hell, I'll say it to them because the Sportsman deal it's great when you can go to the racetrack just about every event and have a full field of cars and put on a good show. That says something. And it's been that way. I think the worst car count we had this year was 19. And that's because weather was involved, and that was only one event.
Man.
So 19 cars. That's a bad problem to have. We'd love to have 19 cars in one class out here now.
I would die for 19.
Yeah, 19. Yeah, I think we get happy when we got 9 rolling through that gate. So that's definitely a good problem to have. So tell us, give us the Cliff Notes version of everything going on this weekend. You've been talking about the pit parties and feeding the racers and stuff like that. Just give us the quick synopsis of the schedule for those that are still listening to this show and hearing about the Bigley Memorial for the first time.
Well, we're going to roll in. We'll be down there parking rigs 4 to 6 on Thursday for the out-of-towners. Like I said, I got a guy going to be down there to wash the rigs, get the snow and ice or snow and salt off of them. Anybody else wanting their rigs washed, they can. And then we'll get in there Friday morning at 9 o'clock, and we'll get the rest of the rigs parked. We'll have tech. All the cars will roll through tech before we hit the track, and then we'll have practice for both divisions. And then at 8 o'clock, we feed everybody and live music and have a good time. And then we're back at it the next morning at 9 o'clock.
Absolutely. 2-day show. That is the way to do it. Nice and simple, a good payday, and you're not breaking the bank with tires. So very good thing. I think that's going to be happening at the Freedom Factory. Ricky, any idea on for 2025 when it comes to UARA with sportsmen and supers? Any idea with kind of the balance there and what you may be doing with some of that?
Well, the sportsmen are going to go back to the Rattler again. They're going to race on Saturday night with the supers. The Rattler is going to be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday show. Sportsmen to have a full schedule again next year. That schedule will be out here pretty soon. We're looking at about 11 races for the national. We'll go to Freedom Factory a couple of times, and then the Rattler, of course, and then back to Berlin, and got a couple other places in there. There'll also be a core deal. There's Superfest deal we're starting there. It'll be a co-sanctioned deal with the track. Be 5 super races there between the Superfest and the UARA co-sanctioning.
Yes, sir. Going to be a good thing. You have built a really badass thing right there, Ricky, and I know that the 128 is going to be fantastic. Thank you for diving in here with us on Race Week, and I know you got some busy stuff that's coming up the rest of the week for you.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving.
All right, you too. Y'all be well. Say hello to Tracy for me.
I'll do it.
You bet. Take care. There he goes. Bad son of a gun right there.
I remember when he was second in Houston. That was the golden era. Everybody says the golden era was back in the Big H days, but in terms of that track and the pavement section, that was the golden era. He was coming in, and that's the reason that there's a truck class in Pensacola, because the truck class was kicking ass in Houston, and he's like, let's take this to Florida. And they did. They replicated it, and they started getting huge car counts or truck counts all over the Southeast. People wanting to come race trucks at Pensacola because they heard about how much fun it was in Houston. And then the modifieds, he was teching the mods with all that big bounty money on Zach Hausler, and he was on point out there helping Jack. So that was he was there when it was hot and heavy. Sold out, cheek to cheek, side by side, all the way through that from turn 4 down to turn number 1.
And that's the thing when you get Ricky in there, I mean, and look, I mean, when you want to talk about, I mean, the glory days of this, I mean, not that they've passed, but I mean, you look at those snowball days. I mean, and it's still a great event. I mean, they're about to do something really fantastic coming up here, with Tim and everybody there that's going on in Pensacola. But you go back and you look at the rich history of the Snowball Derby, and so much of that was the Room of Doom and everything where these guys, where it's like, holy shit, I want to get to that gray area, but I know that Ricky Brooks is going to find that thing out. And then I think it was always, it was a really weird time when all of that happened, because it was, thanks to Gina, I was able to get into Ricky's ear a little bit and kind of got to know Ricky. And look, Ricky's a friend of mine. That dude calls, I pick it up on the first ring, and I think that he'll say the same thing when I call him. But when Ricky goes out and he's going to do his own thing, it's like, wow, that's a tech guy. What he's going to be the tech? That's the tech guy. How's he going to run a series? What he's talking about right there are those pit parties, man. Those pit parties are great. I've been a part of those. He genuinely wants to take care of the racers. And I mean, those people come up and I love that tire rule, that whole thing with one set of tires for the race. You buy all the tires you want for practice. I don't give a shit what you do. If you want to spend your money for that, have at it. But for the race, you get one set. 2-day show in Florida, the week before Pensacola, and he's going to jam the pits in both divisions, man. That's the man's doing well. The man's doing well.
When they put on a hell of a show there at Berlin, there with that one you get to watch, when that Bubba comes up and runs in and stuff like that, the battle at Berlin, and then the Money in the Bank. Those are 2 badass races at Berlin. And so those are Those are, that's and they pack that place on what is it, Wednesday nights, I think is when they run those Wednesday, Thursday nights. And that place is just jam packed. And they're getting their groove together there in Cordele, making a lot of stuff happen there. So they're in kind of a market that's itching for this type of racing. So I think that it becomes there. You never know. We might see a Cars Tour race there at Cordele. Dale Jr. has heavily hinted at that, really wanting to go over there. So I think the sky's the limit for UARA and Ricky Brooks and them folks over there that make things happen in the Southeast.
And I think something that he alluded to right there when we talked about, and here's that schedule once again with the Southern Super Series, and again that's Tim Bryant series. I mean that's a very heavy Tim Bryant thing right there. When we asked Ricky there January 18th, Cordele, he's like, well, yeah, we're renting it out. I mean, that's one of those things to where I think there's always been a little bit of. I'm glad that these folks are working together now, with the ASA Stars Tour. I mean, here's a look at that. I mean, you got that right there with ASA. They're going to New Smyrna. They're going to Five Flags. I got Winchester, Toledo, Owasso. I mean, all of that where you don't – I think that it is finally making sense to folks to where it's like you don't have to necessarily, like Ricky talked about right there. One of the things that I took out and I wrote down, it's like Ricky said, some people do business different. Ricky does business in a racer kind of way. Others don't, but you can still co-op for the betterment of the sport. And that's what's happening right now, it seems like.
Well, I think one of the things that stuck with me when we were talking to Ricky just now is that while racing is in a great place or in a better place than it has been in quite some time, every track promoter on every surface is fighting the same battles, trying to get those casual people out. Well, two of them, trying to get them off that TV set onto a live racetrack and trying to keep their ass off a keyboard.
Yep.
Off a phone, trying to get them live in person. Streaming works out great. I couldn't go to Corpus. I watched the race on TV from the comfort of my couch. And so, streaming serves its purpose, but we had Ray Doy on from I-37 on a couple of weeks ago. While streaming is great and it's becoming an essential part of running a racetrack nowadays, having ass in the seats is priceless. Yeah. You got to have the butts in the seats to try to get there and that makes the difference between a show being financially successful and completely, utterly losing your ass.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And here's a great question right there. We should have asked Ricky this. We didn't have enough time with him. The difference between it's basically the same car, but if you go back when we've had Cody Brusso on here, what they do is they go in there with the Outlaws. I mean, when it comes to shocks, when it comes to all of these parts, and the guy that's about to jump on can probably tell us. So this is perfect, Joshua, for asking this question. What Ricky and UARA have done is they've eliminated a lot of that to where you can go in there and spend that extra money. And it's great if you have it. It's great if you have the money. But the times that we've talked to Cody on here, I mean, look, Cody and Brooke, I mean, that they don't have the money of James Finch and all these other people to where they can go out there and do that. It's more of it's a traveling series to where it still more has that feel of a local class, if that makes any kind of sense.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think that it's kind of like, I mean, the Outlaws were a way to get, the super late models, the older super late model chassis, a second lease on life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the way that's the heart and soul of the Outlaw.
It's the way they sold it.
And then it worked. And then you had brand new purpose-built Outlaw cars. It was basically a turnkey super late model.
Bobby, it's like the factory stocks where it's like, okay, for you dirt people, it's like, well, the factory stock, it's you can pull a car out of the weeds and get out there and be competitive. Well, yeah, that's right. Until you get a guy that's got a $25,000 chassis out there. Maybe I'm blowing that number up. I mean, I don't know, but it's the same. It's the same bill of goods. I think that was sold both ways.
Yeah, and I think the idea of a sportsman is it's the same. Sorry, it's the same kind of concept. I think versus the Outlaw, where there's the bodies are looking the same, but underneath it's not quite the same thing.
Not quite.
It's a little bit more reasonable price shock, a little more reasonable price tire. You got your engine limitations to kind of keep it as a little bit more affordable. I mean, like I said, other people have way better, more input than we do. Wish we had a little more time with Ricky to ask him. He'd be able to tell us, we'd have a chassis lesson right there. But we know he's got a busy schedule this week with Thanksgiving and a big race coming up. So
He's got things to do this week. So
yeah.
we don't want to dive into that. All right, let's go back in. I mean, like we said, I mean, so many great folks that we're going to be talking to tonight. Ricky Brooks talking there about the Bigley 128 at the Freedom Factory. Here's one of our favorite guys because look, Bobby, you and I talk all the time. I mean, it's a very short list of guys that I say that come out of this state of Texas that have the potential to go race anywhere. And I would bet this dude right here, if I had a lot of money to bet where I could bring a lot of money in, I would put a lot of money on this dude because it's genuine badass right here. It is our man, Memphis Villarreal. Memphis, I'm sorry to be putting that kind of pressure on you, but how are you doing, my man?
Oh, good. How are y'all guys doing?
Doing well. So Memphis, kind of talk about that part right there, because Outlaws, you're going to be in an Outlaw there at the Derby, and you were just there this past weekend there with Sotex and the Alexanders. Kind of talk about some of that with the Outlaw, because you've followed this and you've kind of gone through these series to where the Outlaw has kind of progressed itself into something where I don't think it was originally supposed to be what it has become right now.
Yeah, for sure. I remember whenever they first got going there at Pensacola, they were supposed to be, the older style cars, but like y'all said, it's turned into purpose-built race cars, right? But I'm not too familiar with them actually. I've never actually drove one till this past Saturday. So they.
Oh, I think we lost him there for a second. Let's bring him back. Oh, sorry about that, Memphis. There we go. Lost you there for just a second.
Yeah, no, I was saying that they're just quite impressive, how much adjustability they have, like the shocks on them, how far you can go on those things. It's definitely pretty nice, but I'm sure quite expensive,
Yeah, no doubt.
Memphis, how does it drive compared to like a Pro Late model? Is it kind of the same thing, just with a little more downforce, or like does it have a completely different characteristic than a regular Pro Late model?
Yeah, I didn't get to driving too much in traffic. I'd assume in traffic they'll be pretty, I wouldn't say bad, but a lot more turbulent air and dirty air. But no, they're a lot more twitchy, a lot of front downforce on those things. It's gonna make for an interesting race. I know they race really good. I've never really paid too much hard attention to them, but I'm gonna start having to. This should be a good race. Gonna have to study big time and just see how those races play out.
So let's talk about the weekend for you. I mean, you went down there obviously in that car for the Alexanders, and then you were in a pro as well. For the 100. You can talk about that, as you choose to, but kind of talk about the weekend for you. I mean, looked like a very successful weekend behind the wheel there in Pensacola.
Yeah, no, it was looking really good. We had really, really good speed in the Snowflake car. Some unfortunate circumstances, it's racing, stuff happens, but we're going to be looking forward to the next opportunity. Got some stuff we could work on, and hopefully something comes about here soon.
Absolutely.
So Memphis, what's the pressure like building up down there with practice? Obviously, they got money on the line, right? So everybody likes to chase money and wants extra money in their pocket. Does it add? Did the money add in extra nerves to anybody, or were y'all down there? Was it just a business trip? I mean, talk about the whole mood of that weekend with everybody testing down there.
Yeah, no, it's you could tell around the pits it gets really antsy about that time. We were just down there with the Outlaw car. We were just focusing on race runs. We'd started on one set of tires and tried not to overdo that. Same with the Pro Late, just focusing on speed, for the race. Not short run speed is great, right? But just going down there making sure the thing drives good for every single lap is more important to me. It's how I've always done it. So I didn't have much pressure for that, but I'm sure a lot of others did.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about that part for you. I mean, going over. I mean, you've done the truck series. I mean, you've run in that very high echelon part of that. But going to Five Flags, I mean, that really is. I mean, that's our Super Bowl of short track racing. I mean, that is the place when it comes to pavement racing to where that's where you want to be. Kind of talk about being on that racetrack right there. I mean, that's an intimidating racetrack. That track will chew up tires. I mean, there's so much about it. That the wall right there going into turn one. Just kind of talk about that whole experience for you getting behind the wheel of a couple of those cars.
Yeah, no, it's just that place is tough. It's not an easy racetrack for sure. The two corners are way different, and you have the excitement of the inside wall down in turn one. So it's visually, it's hard to hit your mark every lap, at least for me. It's just something different every lap. If you miss it by an inch, it messes up freaking 2 laps of your time.
Yep.
So just making sure you don't slide tires and just save your stuff and just hit your marks every single lap is so important. And I think that's what's going to be really important in that outlaw race Saturday night.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's talk about factory stocks for a minute. I noticed that your hot rod's for sale if anybody wants a really good piece for a factory stock. But talk about the factory stocks for a minute. Are they about to be, I don't want to say extinct, but has that fire for the factory stock starting to burn out a little bit because it got a little too big and got a little too expensive for what it initially meant to be?
Yeah, no, that deal is kind of crazy. We were racing the sport mods before that, and we got out of that because it's like the whole tire deal. You're buying tires every weekend, just like a pavement car, right? So it's try to get out of that spending, eliminate that to save some money, and get into the factory stock. And it's just there's hardly any adjustment you could do. So you got to have freaking 20, 30 shocks. At least we did, to be competitive and try to win every race. But if you go to win all these big races, it gets super expensive because, like I said, there's no adjustment on those things. So it's just springs and shocks are really expensive. So and I've seen the rule updates. You could start doing a little bit more stuff to it. So that should be pretty interesting. And yeah, I think they've just kind of got out of hand from where they were, 2-3 years ago.
There's always that part. Let's open up the rules, and it's always the drivers. Let's open up the rules. It's a cost saving class, but let's open up the rules.
Yeah. No, I mean, if I was to racing them full time, I'd be loving that right now. What you can do to them now, but no, I get it. It's super expensive, and those things shouldn't be all that expensive to race.
So Memphis, I would love to kind of dive into your mindset, because every time that I've talked to you and you've been on the show or Dirty Air, whichever it is, you're very low key, you're very calm and subdued when you talk about racing. And like, I see that on the pavement side, because I think that pavement is very much like you were talking about, finesse, got to hit the marks, got to be able to do all this different stuff. When you go from that and then get into one of those dirt cars, whether the factory stock or limited modified, it's like when you get into a limited modified or a dirt track car, it's like, man, forget all that, because you're just going. Kind of talk about those differences, man, because to me, it seems like night and day.
Yeah, no, to me at least, it's not really too much different. You just gotta, I don't know how to explain it. It's just you don't gotta overdo anything. You just gotta stay calm, hit your marks, and keep up with the track, especially on dirt racing. You gotta keep up with the lines and adjustments and stuff. But just staying calm and just doing your thing. That's what I've always done, and just tried to go about it the easy way, not get too out of control.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, how's North Carolina treating you? Have you had a chance to be through an ice cold winter there in the Carolinas yet? Sometimes it gets a little cold and a little wet there in Charlotte.
Yeah, it's getting really cold. I'm not enjoying it for sure. Going down to Florida this past weekend was a bit relief, even though it was a little chilly there. But no, this is gonna be our first full winter up here, so it's gonna be cold for sure.
Yeah. So Memphis, kind of, I don't really want to go there. When we kind of text back and forth, I said, you kind of drive the conversation. I was really looking forward to seeing your attempt there in the 100 in the Snowflake, and that right there. I mean, I totally get it. Things happen, whatever the case is, but kind of talk about that part and reach out to people. I mean, because it's like, if you need a good wheelman, this is a guy that you want to put in a pro late model to go race in the Snowflake 100. He's going to take care of your stuff, and he's going to give you a good finish. Just kind of talk about that part, because man, you need to be in a pro, I think, for that 100.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just like I always tell everybody I race for, I'll work manual labor to race. It's one of those things. Just where racing has come these days. It's just y'all know how it is to find rides and all that. It's not easy on both ends. So no, I mean, we've all done what we can, right? So just trying to find a new opportunity is going to be, I wouldn't say tough, but just coming up with that end of it, and we'll get it all sorted out, and I'm sure we'll be back here soon.
Absolutely.
So have you had a chance to pick a favorite car yet? We always ask you that, or I always do. When you drive so many things, you've got a Craftsman truck, you got a Pro late model, you got a big Mayhem modified, you got the factory stock. I mean, do you love them all? I mean, is the next car you get in your favorite, or deep down you're like, my ass fits in this seat the best, and this is the one that I like?
No, yeah, I definitely like driving the high horsepower cars, like the modifieds and stuff.
Mhm.
I got the chance to race a super late model at Speed Weeks a few years ago for Max, and that was by far the most fun I've ever had. Um, Dying to get back in one, so hopefully we'll work our way into one here soon.
Absolutely. So for 2025, Memphis, I know it's very early on. I know there are things, everything's very fluid when it comes to you guys. Any thoughts on what's going to happen there? You're going to get back to Texas? Can you race in Houston? You're going to do some dirt stuff? Like Bobby said, I know that car's for sale there with the family. What's 2025 looking like for you?
Right now, everything kind of up in there. We've got some phone calls today after everything, so hopefully we can announce something soon. We're working hard on something here to get back behind the wheel of a late model at least. So hopefully some news soon, and we're going to keep working away at everything.
Right here, Memphis, right here. Call me. We will do it here. Whenever you want to do it, it doesn't have to be a Monday. We will do it right here for you, my friend.
Yes, sir. So just working hard already and trying to get back at it soon.
Absolutely. Looking forward to kind of final thoughts there as we go into Snowball Weekend. It's time to get solid. I mean, you got Thanksgiving, got to get that out of the way. How do you get into the mindset of okay, I've got my job that I'm doing over here, but it's time to go racing. It's time to go to Pensacola.
Yeah, no, I'm ready to go. I'm more fired up than ever to go get that win in the Sotex Motorsports Outlaw car. So we're gonna push hard and focus on that.
Absolutely. Memphis, talk about those guys. I mean, the Alexanders. I mean, I go way back with those guys. Me and Alan used to race each other. We hated each other, wrecked each other, all the other things. I mean, kind of talk about those guys, man. That's the torchbearers for Texas. I mean, they really push this thing and they keep us kind of relevant. It seems like in these parts.
Absolutely, they're a great family, great, amazing people. Who have an awesome program going on. So I'm lucky to get to drive for them. I've kind of drive their modified a few times and get behind the wheel of Allen's outlaw stock. So looking forward to it and just hopefully we can bring him back a trophy.
Absolutely. Sorry, Bobby, I jumped on you there. What you got left here for MV?
Well, no, I was just going to tell him to say hello to his family down there in Corpus because I still need to hit his dad up for some batteries for the golf cart project. So, I always trying to look out for number one myself. But he did tell me to call him when I got ready, and I'm almost to the point I need to call him and get my batteries for my golf cart. So I'm sure he'll hook me up down there at Continental Batteries there in Corpus Christi. So that's all I had to close out. So
absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely. Good stuff. By the way, say hello to your great new photographer there.
That's
that
right.
was doing all of your work there. Your beautiful bride. Looking forward to the Derby, dude. Go out there and man, we are always with you, my brother. Thank you for jumping on here and doing Texas proud, my man.
Thank you.
All right, man. Take care.
Yep.
You bet. There he goes. Memphis Villarreal. That's the right way to say that. Bobby, that dude, he
how bad are they gonna butcher that at the Derby again this year?
Oh, the dummies. They'll jack it all up. They can never get that right. They can never get that right. But
Villarreal and Matsagimba was the two hardest words ever for those poor souls down there for Bill and Robbie. They just, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I butchered lots of names still, some of the interesting names there at the Texana, but after a while, these guys show up 4 or 5 times. You might have a better idea how to get it right.
Max Callis. It's old Max Callis.
McDonald.
Max McDonald. No, that is Max Callis. Come on, y'all. And by the way, him too. I mean, I saw him looking really. I mean, he's got a nice deal put together with my man Benny and Gina there with Rogers Dabs.
That modified looked sharp standing still, didn't it?
That is a bad son of a bitch. That thing looks really, really good. And that's another guy right there where you get that guy behind the wheel and if they get all the things that I really do think. And that's where I was really hoping when Memphis texted me and said that this thing, didn't work out, for the pro, where it's like, damn it. we still got Caden. I reached out to Caden and wanted to get Caden on here. I want to get all three of these guys, but Caden had some stuff where he couldn't get on. But it's like, man, I think that one thing that can come out of Derby 2025 is that we're going to be able to see where our guys, our Texas guys, are really going to showcase, because we may not have all these 5,000 racetracks around here. We may not get to race pavement all the time, but I'll be damned, Bobby, we got some really, really good dudes behind the wheel. And I think that this Derby weekend, this Derby week, is about to remind people of some of that.
We still got shoes down here.
Yeah.
They don't get a chance to put on the hot shoe all the time. But when it comes time for the big shows to pop up, they'll be hanging tough. They'll be all right.
I think so too. And again, like we said right there, Ricky Brooks, just talked to him. You got the Bigley 128 that's going to be coming up, and obviously Snowball Derby coming up, kind of back-to-back weekends right there. Just a few minutes. We got a little bit of time right here before we dive in. We're going to talk to Jared Maupin. Let's kind of go back and look at these schedules for some of the conversations that we were having right there. Here's the 2025 Southern Super Series schedule. You've got, like Ricky talked about, you got the Cordeal event in January, kind of a standalone right there at Speed Fest. And then you got New Smyrna, Five Flags, a couple of events back there. Mobile is back on this schedule with a very healthy dose of 2 races happening there for Mr. Eddie. You got Nashville, you got Hickory, you got Newport. There's a big gap in there. September 6th, I've mentioned a place that could accommodate that date, especially with all the gap in time right there. Five Flags and Nashville. So I like that Southern Super Series schedule, Bobby. That's very Southern in my opinion.
Well, some of those dates look hot. It'll be hot at some of them racetracks, but it always is in the South. But I think that it's a balance, because you have to find a way to get that balance, because it's the same guys all over the country that come and race these things.
Yeah.
And so you have to give them a good enough schedule to where there's gaps in the schedule. Like the ASA schedule, a lot of them races are midweek races.
Mm-hmm.
A third of them, because that's when the Southern Super Series, I think that's going to end up being a double header or double points night there on May 22nd, or with that's Hickory. I thought they were going to go. I guess it's a Southern Super Series race that's there at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah. But I mean that's going to pull into where it's those events right there where like it doesn't really matter the brand. Looking here at ASA, for 2025, you got New Smyrna right there. That's Speed Week. I mean, all that happening right there. But with these guys, you go to Dominion, you got Madison, you got Anderson, you got Owasso, Toledo, and then the All American 400. Kind of some of those right there, to where it's really nice that the way that this thing has kind of spread itself out to where it does afford the guys, the teams, ladies, it does afford them the opportunity to go race the different races. And that's where I'm really curious to see what the UARA schedule is going to be. Once Ricky's comes out, to where, I mean, what are they going to do? Because you've got the 2 right there to where it's like they're going to have to slot in. And like we said, they are co-oping. I mean, they really are. I mean, they may not want to admit it. Tim doesn't want to say it. Ricky doesn't want to say it. Bob Sargent doesn't want to say it. But I think that they figured out that they have to. I'm sure there's phone calls that are being made. They have to figure out a way to work this out.
Well, I mean, and I think it comes from a competitor standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I think that those guys don't want to choose sides.
Yep.
Because they have a lot of fans and a lot of sponsor interest. I mean. That dude in that 26 car is wanted all over the country.
Yep.
That's why his race schedule, when he comes out, he just puts it out in pictures. Every single week that dude's somewhere at some kind of high-end race, some kind of high-end racetrack. He's very popular. They want to see Bubba Pollard all over the country. It is hard for him to pick and choose between which Super Series to try to run when he wants to get to them all. And hell, you throw in a couple of Xfinity Series races there, here and there. I mean, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest parts right there, to where I think that Bubba Pollard, for everything that he does, he does a really good job of doing that, to where he wants to support all these people. I mean, you can get pissed off at whatever promoter, whatever you want to call it, but I think that Bubba is the best example that he wants to, because he does. I mean, the dude draws. We just saw. We'll talk about it here in a little bit, to where it's like, you had that event at Florence, to where there was such a demand for that race that it wiped out the internet. They had no bandwidth. They could not get that race on the air for flow. And that's
No junior effect.
the Dale Jr. effect. And it is very much the Bubba Pollard thing, to where that dude, he wants to be a part of all of this. He is always looking for the betterment of short track racing. And I was actually talking to a dude today, to where it's like, why is Bubba not racing the bigly? He's got to go to the Derby. I mean, that is one that is on Bubba Pollard's list, to where that is right here. He has not been able to win that race. There have been so many different things, so many different reasons, the Earnhardt effect. I mean, you insert the driver why he has not been able to win that race. That is all that's on that dude's plate right now. And you know what? It should be. It should be, because Bubba Pollard needs to be a Snowball Derby champion.
Well, and let's not take it away from the big league. There's still gonna be plenty of superstars down there. Missing one guy is not going to have the negative effect on the race. There's still going to be superstars, and there's going to be guys that are going to have a breakout race at that race. It could be the next superstar that we don't even know by now. But there's a couple of guys that get, like you said, Dutilli and some of those other guys get those bonuses for winning it again. I mean, there's some really heavy hitters down there in Central Florida that know how to kick ass and know how to race. So don't put that race off to the back burner just because Bubba ain't going to be there. There's still going to be plenty of racing action and plenty of superstars for you to watch.
Yeah, let me tell you, when you're going to pull in, and again, the 128 is going to be live on Racing America. With your subscription, you get to watch a sportsman and the late models. Man, you're going to have 40 sportsmen. You're going to have 30 some odd, almost 40 late models the week before the Derby. Come on, man. That right there is must-see TV. Like Ricky talked about, the weather's going to be better. Weather's going to be nice. Oh, man. These next 2 weekends are going to be really, really cool.
I think so. I mean, you're going to have guys that are like, racers sometimes have an issue with having realistic expectations of themselves and their equipment, right? Everybody goes in thinking they're going to be, the baddest guy on the planet, and walk in and say, hey, we're going to run this race and kick ass and all of that. The problem is, something with the Derby, you're going to have, you've got, 75, 80 guys in the super late model from all over the country in North America that all think the same thing. And the problem is, the one thing that we've learned over the years to go into the Derby is that the best selling thing in the concession stand is humble pie, because that place will humble your ass in a minute. It ain't the foot long corny dog. It ain't the funnel cake. It is that piece of humble pie that will humble your ass, especially on qualifying night on Friday. Yeah. That being said, there are some guys that are going to run the big league that have the realistic expectation. They either A, don't want to spend the money, B, can't spend the money on all those tires, and C, they just want to have a good time and race and not worry about all the extra distractions that comes with running the biggest short track race in the world.
Yeah. And the fact that you do have these back to back, I think is something that's going to be really cool. And like we were just talking there to Memphis, with and Ricky, with the sportsmen that are going to be at Freedom Factory this weekend. And then the following week, the Outlaws are going to be at Five Flags. It's going to be a loaded outlaw field. And
there'll be some sportsmen running with the Outlaws.
Of course. Absolutely. Because
they won't be running competitively against, but there'll be some down there.
Well, and the whole thing is, I think we know better. Because we've seen it firsthand, to where it's like, when you get to the Derby, I don't give a damn if you're in the trucks and the modifieds or whatever. You just got to get to the end. You get to 10 to go. You can run in the back.
You can pass lap 1 in an outlaw race. You're doing all right.
That's what I'm talking about. And I think that's one of the biggest things right there, to where that's what the Derby is. And I love the fact that you've got these two races piggybacking off of each other, because it's really going to be a couple of special weeks coming up in Florida as asphalt racing takes center stage with two huge events. Guys, we got Jared Maupin coming up. He was there in Pensacola this past weekend. We'll talk to him. Before we do that, got to talk about my man Tom McKay at Audiovisual Consultations, 255-8678. He can set you up with your home speedway system. He does home theater systems, but let me tell you something. When he came in here and he implanted me with all these TVs in here, I may have Flow over here. I may have Racing America and then NASCAR. I've got all that going on, all of this sound and beautiful pictures, and it's all from my man Tom McKay. Here's a word from Tom McKay and Audiovisual Consultations.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. Today's home electronics can be a bit daunting. My company has spent the last 36 years making sure they are not. For those of you who have not experienced our services yet, we'd like to invite you to give us a try for all your home electronics needs. We carry all the major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And we come to you. There's no need to leave your home to find great pricing and incomparable service. No traffic, inexperienced sales geeks, or pushy showroom tactics. We believe in having some fun and dreaming big. You have a dream for your home entertainment? Let us know. We can make it come true. And we are always there to help after the job is done. We cultivate clients for a lifetime by treating everyone like their family. No, not those family members. I'm talking about the ones you actually like. So relax, hug your kids, make love to your wife, and smile. Then, when you have a moment, give us a call at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678. Or online at avconsultations.com.
It is Tom McKay and Audiovisual Consultations. Bobby, we always have to talk about our friends at On Demand Shirts. You and I go rolling around town with our Revved Up gear on. We got it here on the sleeves, my man. I saw that they were selling our merch at the South Texas Shootout, for crying out loud. On Demand Shirts, great people in San Antonio.
I know, and what's even going to be greater is when they get my merch finished. I got to work with James, got my new logo updated, got the website almost finally nipped in the bud, and I'll be walking around with shirts with my name on them. That'll be kind of fun. That'll be something new. And the only place I'm going to go to get that done is On Demand Shirts.
Looking sharper than a $2 pistol will be my man, Bobby Chaffee, as he does all of that. So, yeah, check out On Demand Shirts. They take care of a lot of great racing drivers here around the state of Texas, and they will take care of you as well. It's On Demand Shirts. Check them out on Facebook. All right, let's go to the Revved Up hotline. Going to the hotline presented by On Demand Shirts. We go to the call line. Man on the road tonight. We've been talking about the Snowball Derby. Just talked to Memphis Villarreal right there, talking about his endeavors. Here's another dude that I just want to hear the itinerary for this guy. It is one of our best friends right here, and we call him the Shoe because he's a bad son of a gun. Our man, Jared Mopp. And Jared, how you doing, brother?
Good. How are y'all?
Doing well, my man. So where the hell are you at? Where are you going now?
Me and Jamie Fuller are leaving Whitehead's shop. We dropped off some frames, so I'm about, 25 minutes from Shreveport.
Damn.
Heading to pick up a limited modified that my dad won at a raffle, and then head back to San Antonio.
Oh my God. Oh.
Be careful. Them casinos in Shreveport will take your money if you ain't careful.
I ain't looking that way.
Jared, talk about the weekend, dude. So you were in Pensacola. You're doing the double there with the truck and the Outlaw and all that. Then you have to go to dirt. Kind of just talk about that part. I mean, you were like the most what do they call it? The miles, travel miles. I mean, dude, you were all over that this weekend.
Yeah, it was definitely something new. Super cool experience. I haven't been on a plane, first of all, like in 6 years, so that was kind of neat to be on a plane again. Actually 4 of them in 2 days, so that was cool. The whole preview deal is really awesome. We got to make a ton of laps in both the modified and the truck. Really getting comfortable with that track. I've only been there one time. I did get to do a mayhem race in the modified earlier in the year. We had just bought that car, so we were really new to it. Found a bunch of issues, so this was the first time we were really confident in the car. I've had enough seat time to where we can really start chipping away at setup, and I think we made some good progress. I feel good about going to the show. I believe John and Rick feel pretty good about it. The truck, I think the truck was even better. I'm really comfortable in that truck after all those laps at HMP. Mm-hmm. The truck's just a hot rod. I mean, John's got that thing dialed in. It's a blast to drive, and I really cannot wait for Thursday night.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So talk about that. Your asphalt experience is limited there in Houston. So how long does it take you to get accompanied to that bigger half mile? I mean, that thing eats all that sand down there, eats away that track. Like Larry Mack says, cheese graters on a tire. Houston's not much better, but it's got the concretes in the corners. So how long did it take you to get a different mindset from going for a 3/8 that big old half mile?
I'm not going to lie. I started with the truck, and the truck was a pretty easy transition. Mm-hmm. It's got the 602, so it slowly got me up to speed. I was able to charge the corners harder than I expected right off the bat. So the really big change is going from the modified. You know, it's just got so much horsepower and such little tire. You know, the nose don't stick as good. So the modified is really tricky. I'm glad one thing that I think is going to be a huge help is Augie Grill was able to jump in the modified after me, tell us his points on it, tell us what he thought I was doing wrong or right. So I think that was a big advantage. We know the car's fast. He gave me a few pointers on what to do, driving style compared to the truck. So I'm looking forward to driving that modified.
Oh man, I bet. So kind of talk about again with that part, Jared. I would think that getting in the truck, and you and I have talked about this with what you do on dirt and everything. I mean, the truck, you're probably like putting your foot through the floor pan. It's like it won't go anymore. I mean, kind of talk about that part, because I would think with the truck, you're pretty much wearing that heel out, trying to get that thing to give it a little bit more than it actually can.
You know, I kind of compare. I'm not knocking the factory stocks, but I compare the truck to the factory stock. It's like getting out of the dirt modified and jumping to the factory, and everything feels like slow motion. But man, you're just able to drive that thing off in there. You hit the rev limiter 10 times, you know, and just drive that thing off in there as deep as you possibly can. And I mean, when I say you barely use any brake, I mean you might just have your foot touching the brake pedal.
Yeah. But
you just keep that momentum up, and they're just a blast to drive. Just because it's a challenge on keeping your momentum up. It might not be the most horsepower, but training your mind to not scrub speed is, I think, the biggest part with those things. Just keep it wound up and don't let that little motor bog at all.
Absolutely.
Hey, speaking of the mod with no fenders, how weird is it? Like, how close have you gotten to that wall going down there in turn one? That thing kind of peeks out at you a little bit, kind of sitting there like a smoky bear on the interstate coming to pop you for a speeding ticket. How close you got to that wall down there yet?
I want to say the truck I got the closest. The modified, I'm still a little on ice about, because you know it's an open tire, and I would hate to graze that thing with that tire. But I want to say the truck, I was getting pretty close. But it's kind of nice because that truck is your entry point. You know, you're staring at that wall on entry, so it's kind of hard to mess up your entry going into one when you got that wall, you know, telling you exactly where to be.
Yeah, and not to mention that truck has a fender where the other one doesn't, so that kind of hampers that just a little bit. So kind of talk about you did that, you go off and you drive those two, and then you somehow get to Corpus. Talk about the night at the race ranch, because hell, that wound up being a good night for you as well. Kind of talk about all that transition.
Yeah, I was excited because I know the last time we drove with Spar Mod, it was down there in Corpus, so we had that car dialed in for Corpus pretty well. I started 8th, I believe, in the heat race, and I'm taking the lead, and I might have stepped on it, hugging the bottom of the tires. I think that they're still a little greasy down there, and I spun it out, taking the lead in the heat race. So I went to the back, came back to 3rd, started outside pole, the LCQ, won the LCQ. I started 17th in the feature. I want to say within 10 laps, I was in 4th place. I mean, we were flying. I mean, we had a really, really good car. I got behind Cody Smith and JJ and them, and kind of just paced for a few laps, because we got a caution with 38 to go, and I knew I could save some tires. And once we got going, you know, up to speed a little bit, I just felt like the car faded real bad, and we had a right rear tire just come apart. That was 100% on me. I put a new tire on. It's a big no-no. You know, you need at least something with a heat cycle.
Right.
So that kind of killed our speed. We ended up, I think, 7th or 8th. So I mean, not a whole failure, you know, but I know we had a ton of speed. I know there was a top 3 car, without a doubt. And the late model started 5th or 6th. Got a green light checker. I got it up to 2nd, and I think we finished 2nd by 16 thousandths of a second. So I mean, it was a good, successful weekend. Being able to jump in there without knowing what the track was like the day before. So we were at a little disadvantage with knowing what the track was doing throughout the night. But I think we had 2 good hot rods. Both cars came back perfectly straight, no damage. So, I mean, I can't complain.
So, Jared, does that topless thing, does it matter at all? Are you just, you know, looking more out the visor through the where the windshield would be? I mean, do you notice maybe a little cooler without the top on the limited modified?
Yeah, maybe a little more airflow. I don't think they drive too crazy different. I mean, I feel like with the roof that sails, we get a little more, you know, maybe side bite going in the corners and stuff, but it's not night and day. I mean, it's no big deal, but I do like the look of them. I like how the crowd can really get to see the hand movements and get to see inside the cockpit. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the topless steel. I wish we get to do it more.
Yeah. So Jared, I mean, you were all business. I mean, you were a race car driver. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But at some point over the weekend, maybe while you were getting back from Pensacola to Corpus or whatever, did you really let this all sink into what you just did? I mean, going over there, practicing for the Derby, and then coming to Corpus to race in your home stomping grounds. Did you ever really let that sink into what you just did? Dude, it's fucking badass. That's the only way that I can say that.
It's funny because I was driving back from Corpus to San Antonio after the race, and I want to say it's like 3:30 in the morning. I'm still not home yet. I'm like, Why do we do this? Why do we do this every other weekend? Mm-hmm. And then you wake up the next morning, everything's fine. But
I agree, totally.
And on the way to Corpus, because I'm trying to hurry up and take a whole nother race car over there, and I got another one waiting for me, and just didn't realize I was just in Florida that morning. It's nuts. It's hard to wrap your mind around, but
I know, man.
I'm living it up. It's a blast. I can't thank Rick enough for putting me in his rides, and I hope we can keep this going.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to January, right? Let's say that we could even go back to the South Texas Shootout last year, right? At the end of the year. If somebody would have told you to say, hey, guess what? Come December, you're going to be part of the biggest short track race in North America. Come the Snowball Derby weekend, running an open wheel modified and a pickup truck. What would you have told me if that's what I told you down at the South Texas Shootout last year? Would you said, hey, that's the goal, or B, you're crazy as hell? What are you talking about?
No, I would have called you a liar.
Yeah, you won't be the first.
I mean, I never would have guessed that. I know we were at the Snowball last year. I got to help ranch on John's modified with Augie driving, and then on Rick's truck. So that was my first time ever going too. So 1 year going for the first time, so the second year driving two cars there, it's just nuts. I couldn't have comprehended this. Before January, I'd never been in an asphalt car ever, and then we got to drive three of them this year. So it's neat. I would have never believed anybody that said, next year you're going to be driving three asphalt cars, while driving dirt. So, it's like a dream come true pretty much.
Yeah. I'd like to say, I think I told you in Pensacola last year, my man, you will be here next year. So anyway, that's my foresight. So kind of talk about that part. So expectations going into this. I think that when it comes to the truck and the modified, I think that you are going to be right there at the top of the list of guys that can win this. How do you wrap your mind around this? Because it's one thing being your first time there on a big half mile like that. I know you've done Mobile, but Pensacola is different. How do you handle that? Because Jared, you can win both of these freaking races, my man.
Yeah, the modified's going to be insane. That one's going to be tough. Those guys are awesome. Those Mod Mayhem guys are no joke. Yeah. The truck too. I know they have a stout group, but I just feel so comfortable in that truck to where I think we stand a chance. I really do. We made some great laps. We did a little mock-up qualifying run. Mm-hmm. We're really, really confident going in. I don't think we left there with a doubt in our mind that we stand a chance to win that race. So, yeah, that preview definitely helped get my feet wet, with running multiple laps. I got to do, three laps here and 5 laps here, but get to do, before we left, going and doing like 25 laps straight, really got to let me know what the truck's going to do with tire wear and all that. So, no, I'm super excited. Mobile definitely helps. I'm not going to lie, Batesville on dirt helps. It's a big half mile, and you drive that thing wide open. Mm-hmm. So honestly, I do think that trip to Batesville in the modified was a big help. These high bank, drive it off in there until you're scared, feeling. Mm-hmm. So no, I'm all these different tracks we've gone to all year. I think it's been a big prep for this show coming up.
Yep. Yes, sir.
So obviously the expectations are high this weekend. What have you even had a chance to think about 2025? Is it just we want to concentrate on 2024 and end on a high note?
The only thing I've really thought about in 2025, besides some of the dirt stuff we have planned, is do Smyrna. I know we've talked a bunch about speed weeks, so that's going to be very interesting. I'm pretty sure we're going from the last we talked about it. So that's really the only thing that's been on my mind for 2025, because I know it's in February, I believe, like the first week of February.
Yep.
So that's really where my mind's at. I cannot wait to go down there. 9 days of asphalt sounds grueling, but I'm super excited. And heck, we get to go to Volusia on one of our off days. So, I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah. Jared, I have to ask you, because I know it's one of those things. I saw one of the first times you were on the track at Houston. Somebody posted a video of you out there, and one of the dirt guys said, "Well, that looks slow."
Yeah, I know exactly who that was too. Steven Whitaker Jr.
That's right.
I'll call him out. Right.
Right. I mean, those guys that give you shit, those guys that talk about. I mean, give me your perspective. I mean, one-on-one, we're friends, man. You have gone to the asphalt and you have kicked everybody's ass around here. Kind of talk about that part when these guys say, "Well, the pavement sucks," or whatever. It's a little bit harder than it really is, don't you think?
Yeah, I know that's typical Steven, right? But me and him actually talked about when that Tom series happened, and he said he had an absolute blast when they switched limiteds over to asphalt once in a while. So I think you can knock it until you tried it. I mean, there's always gonna be those guys that, maybe have never got the chance to try it, but it's different. It's super different. I've always said it's more technical, because you can miss your entry by 3 feet. You miss that apron and that yellow line by 3 feet, 2 feet, and you lose tenths.
Mm-hmm.
You lose your whole corner. On dirt, you can make that up easy. You can drive the next corner a little harder and make up that tenth. You can't do that on asphalt. So it's very technical, and I think it's more mental when it comes to making every lap consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the dirt's a little more relaxed. Yeah, you're up on the wheel more and put a lot of wheel into a lot of throttle, but I just feel like you have to be absolutely perfect on asphalt, especially when the competition's stout.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, let's see. We got everything. Did you ever work on that resume deal I talked to you about in Houston for Robbie and Bill and them for when they announced your race winning?
No, you just reminded me. No, I haven't.
See if your significant other can help you out on that. If she can organize school papers, she can make you one of those real quick.
Right.
I will message those guys and let them know who the hell you are so they can figure that out. Great weekend for you, my man. Congratulations. I'm so excited that it sucks. I can't go. I can't do the Derby. I've got some other work stuff. But anyway, I'm going to be following along with you there. And I know you're going to do really badass things. And dude, so proud of what you're doing. Good luck. Go get it. And we're going to be flying that Jared Maupin flag down here, my brother.
Thank you guys a bunch. I really appreciate it.
Hey, speaking of flags, why don't you hang a Texas flag from the hauler? That way everybody knows exactly who they're dealing with. One of the Texas badasses. That'd be a good idea.
I'm probably gonna put a saw 'em off flag up just so everybody's aware.
No, come on, Jared. Why you gotta do that?
I knew you guys would like that one.
Oh, you know who I work for, right? Come on, man. What are you? You're fired.
Hey,
no, just kidding.
We'll talk after this weekend. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
don't you have to go through Auburn to get to Pensacola?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Good luck, my man. We'll be cheering you on. Congratulations. It's going to be fun.
Thank you, guys.
You bet. Take care. There he goes, Jared Maupin. And, I don't know why. I mean, it is not a surprise. I think it's a surprise to a lot of people that he has been this successful. Bobby, we called this a long time ago.
It was
send him
in an asphalt and he'll do something special. That's what we said.
Yeah, and it really does come down to the mindset of Jared Maupin, because you look at and look, here's a comparable. Caden Honeycutt. That dude right there, when you look at what Caden does versus what Jared does, it's the same damn thing. You put them in a dirt car and they got to get in there and get elbows up and all that. And I know these dirt people are like, wow, asphalt's easy. Bullshit. How many dirt guys have tried this and cannot carry Jared Maupin's jock? A lot. It's two different disciplines. And he's just one of those dudes. The three guys we're talking about tonight, him, Memphis, and Honeycutt. Those guys right there are cut from the same cloth. They can do anything. That's our Texas future right there. Those three dudes.
That'll be the next big thing. Caden, I remember when, I was hoping we could get him on, because I remember when we had him on before the Derby, before he got behind the wheel of that Donnie Wilson #2 for the Derby. And I remember specifically asking him, so what's a good goal for you? Like, you just want to finish the race, you want to have a top 15, top 10. He says, no, hell no, dude. I'm going down there to put it on a pole, and I'm going down there to win.
Yeah.
He put that sumbitch on the pole or outside pole, put it on the front row, and then he led a whole bunch of that damn race.
I'm here to tell you, when it comes to that truck race that's coming up in Pensacola, if that guy we just had on the Revved Up hotline, his name is still right there, if he does not get into a mess and somebody does not take him out, that dude is going to win that race. I mean, because yeah, you've got Trace Capers. You've got some really good racers over there. And what's going to happen in this truck race? I mean, I know that they were up there this weekend. It always happens to where, I mean, you get Stephen Davis and all these different guys that jump in a truck and they go out there and race. I promise you, if Jared Maupin does not get wrecked, or the car doesn't break down, or the truck doesn't break down, that guy will be contending for the win in that race. With the modified, like he said, when it comes to the Mods of Mayhem guys, that's going to be tough. That's going to be really, really tough. There are a lot of guys that are going to be really, really good. But I really think with the trucks, this dude can wipe the floor with that field. And maybe I'm exaggerating, but he's that good. He's that good. And that truck don't go that fast. I just think that it's his to lose, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, think about it. He's got John Howell as a crew chief and Augie Grill as a coach.
Yeah.
That don't get a whole lot better for short track race. And he got Rick Palero as a car owner. Yeah. Rick's a hell of a nice guy. We've had lots of good conversations in beer with Rick over the years.
Yeah, I mean, you get all of that tandem together, and I mean, Jared Maupin. I mean,
Jamie Fuller's still in there helping him out. So,
yeah, I get so many people where it's like, man, you're hard on for Maupin. I'm like, the guy's a natural talent. I mean, it's one of those things to where all the guys that we're talking about right here. I mean, it's very far-fetched to compare people to Kyle Larson, but the three guys that we've been talking about tonight from Texas, Bobby, those guys can do in the right situation, those guys can do what Kyle Larson has done. And Kyle Larson will tell you, because he's told me this, you've got to fall in the right situation with the right people behind you to be able to do what I have done.
Well, that's any racer.
Any racer. Any of them. I mean, and it's I don't get a little heated here. Sorry. I need a beer. Coors Light, official sponsor of no, they're not an official sponsor of the Revved Up Sports Show. But Jared Maupin right there.
They can be if you're a Coors Light distributor and you want to help out the show, hit us up. We can make a marketing plan work for you on a budget that work for you too.
No, if you're Coors Light, we're not going to make a budget that works for you. We're going to make a budget that works for us. So anyway, but great conversation right there with those two guys. And again, when it comes to the show based out of Texas right here, Memphis and Jared, I mean, that's two of the guys that we're proud of. And we're proud of all these guys. I mean, all the guys that go out and do really cool things. They win races in Texas and do really great things. I mean, it's I talk to so many people to where we do. I mean, we have really, really good racers in the state of Texas on dirt and asphalt. And I'm glad that people are finally realizing that we still have that.
I'm just glad people still remember we have an asphalt track.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Granted, it's people outside of the state, but not so much the racers that realize that. But it all work itself out.
Mm-hmm. And again, back to this Southern Super Series schedule. Man, look at that gap right there. TBA, rain date. I know a racetrack. Of course, the rain date will probably factor in. And anyway, the sportsman thing, I think, would be great around here if that was something that would work out on UARA, and we'll see that schedule coming up. Bobby,
The Outlaws when Gina had that place was supposed to run the
Mhm.
sportsman rules.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's supposed to. Definitely was supposed to, but you know how that works out. All right, so kind of to the business of racing. Let's go to this. So we had the event. Obviously, we talked about, or I don't think we talked about, but you had the Netflix thing with everything that went wrong with all of that. You had Florence with the big late model stock event with Dale Jr. Inundated with people trying to be a part of this. And this is where my man Tony Stevens called me because I made a post and I'm like, hey, you know, the streaming didn't work out. He's like, dude, it ain't. It's not Flow. And Flow, I mean, that's friends of ours. The racetrack. This is why when people say, well, we need to race NASCAR at, I don't know, ABC Speedway out in the middle of nowhere, boom, right there. You can't do it. Can't do it.
Ain't the cell signal. Ain't enough internet for it.
Nope.
Dale Jr. effect. There's a hell of a lot of people there to see him in person and a hell of a lot of people logged in online to watch him race again.
Mm-hmm.
There were people that specifically signed up for Flow Racing to watch that race because it was a red Budweiser number 8 car back on the racetrack. And they thought it was the greatest thing to the second coming of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Uh-huh.
And it was good there for a while. The fuel pump took a shit, but you know, he still moves the needle. He's like, I don't know if Bud's gonna do this again. Yeah, they'll do it again.
I think so.
They got diecast cars already made. They got all kind of stuff ready to go.
Yeah, you know, and it was funny. And I get a text from my man JJ Jennings. You should be drinking natties. Well, I got those too, but I'm trying to be, you know, social tonight. Trying to be fancy. Did you hear who we had on this show tonight? We had Ricky Brooks, Memphis Villarreal. We had Jared Maupin. I'm trying to be a high roller tonight. That's why I'm drinking the Silver Bullet. So JJ, don't worry. And great run for JJ, by the way. There at the race ranch. JJ, I thought you were done. And that was, I mean, look, I think some folks were a little bummed out about the car count and everything there with that. But I think I would call that a very successful weekend at the South Texas Race Ranch. I think they did very well.
And they still got one more.
Mm-hmm.
Outlaw 34. And the ice, everybody keeps forgetting the ice stocks got added to that show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested to see those two classes go head to head for a big show to see which car count is going to dominate. Obviously, the factory stocks are a little more prominent down in South Texas versus the ice stocks, but man, that second weekend in December when that race is happening for the stock cars, dude, it's gonna be icing all over the country. Some of them guys, some of them Yankees, and some of them Midwest farmers will be damn sure ready to come down. I mean, it may be cold in South Texas, be 50, 60 degrees, but it'd be 30 something where they're from up in Iowa and Kansas and all that. They'd be more than happy to make the trek down to Corpus Christi to the sparkling city by the sea.
That's what they call it. I mean, come on down to Corpus. I mean, come on down, spend the weekend. I mean, you know, they got the holiday. They got the holiday right there on the, what do they call it? The seawall. I mean, they got the racer discount right there. I mean, I think that.
Come down, spend a couple of days, go to the Alamo in San Antonio. It's only an hour and a half, 2 hours away, depending on how fast you drive.
I don't know if you want to do that. But anyway, no.
They won't understand the Selena statue. They might understand the Alamo.
Well, they may have seen that movie. If they see that movie, they'll want to go there. I'll tell you what I would do if you're coming from up north, and you want to see something cool in Corpus. Go over there to the bridge, to the what do they call the old bridge, the original bridge that goes over the whatever,
the causeway or whatever.
Go look at the new one, because you drive over that and you're sitting there driving, and I was going. For some reason, I was going further out the last time I was there, and I'm looking at this thing, and it's like, man, the Dukes of Hazzard would love this, because it's like you see the brand new bridge being built, and then there's nothing, and there's this gap to the next thing there, and that thing is so high up in the air. Holy shit! Are you kidding me? This is, I mean, Corpus. I know a lot of folks kind of talk about Corpus. My wife, one of them. I'm not going down there. I don't want to go there. Reminds her of Texas City. I'm like, but there's lots of things to do in Corpus. It's a fun time in Corpus Christi. I love that town. That's my town.
I've had a lot of fun times in Corpus.
Oh, me too. I mean,
not just at the racetrack, just in general.
Oh, me too. You know what? I threw out the other day, you know, folks are asking for a strip bar. I'm like, here you go. Here's where you go. They got him there. I mean, maybe not the most family friendly thing to be saying on this program, but there's all kinds of things to do in Corpus.
Well, never mind. I'll just.
So there's
they don't have a Wild Greg's like we had in Pensacola.
So oh my God, don't bring that up. So there again is that statement right there. So for all of the folks, and this is where I go back to how folks can, with the keyboards and all this, all the folks that were beating up Flo, that love Flo all the time. Flo is the best. Forget Racing America. Forget whoever. Forget NBC Sports. They're no good. That was a race. That was an infrastructure thing right there. I mean, these racetracks that are older, they're not built for this kind of thing. I mean, that's what we should have asked Ricky, because I know when Ricky went in there with Cordeal, they went in there and they redid all that shit. So that was one of the first things he did, is going in and doing that to avoid that problem. And that's not where you get pissed off at Florence. I mean, it's just that demand. You said it, Bobby, the Dale Jr. thing. I mean, shit. The Mike Tyson fight the other day. Everybody's pissed off at Netflix. They're not ready for that.
No, they weren't. Sorry, I checked my fantasy score just to make sure that I wasn't losing. Not that I'm going to, but no, I mean, I just think that it's, the problem is it's the streamers become the Wicked Witch of the West, right? They become the bad guy really quickly. Yet if everything goes right, it's no different. When everything goes right, nobody says a word. They just complain about the racing. They don't say shit about the streamer. Mm-hmm. But man, let it buffer for a minute. Let it sit there and spin for a second. Oh my goodness. It's like the sky has fallen and they become the evil empire after that. Like Rome is crashing down on you're the only one that it's happening to, but you get that. And it's funny that I'm surprised that the S button on a keyboard doesn't have that Superman logo on it, because you got to figure that everybody behind the keyboard warrior thinks they're Superman when they press that button.
Mm-hmm. Take a look at that. Brazil checking in.
Yeah, they're switching to crossovers.
Hey, I'm just glad that our stream works in Brazil. We're sitting here talking about streaming problems. Well, that's all right.
Probably one of Max's buddies.
Of course it is. Of course it is. That's our people. That's why we go out and we win that crowd. So yeah, super good stuff right there. Bobby, I think that yesterday I was really excited to see that with Fox NFL Sunday. And again, I know a lot of people don't like the NFL. A lot of people don't like Michael Strahan or whatever the case is. The fact that Michael Strahan's going to be driving the pace car at the Indianapolis 500 that's going to be on Fox, I think that's a big deal. On the NFL pregame show.
Well, I mean, it's crossing over your biggest properties. You now have the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is stock car racing and the largest sporting event in the world, the Indianapolis 500, all on the same network. Cross-pollination, the raising tide, or the rising tide raises all boats. It's the same thing. Fox didn't spend all those billions and millions of dollars to broadcast these sports entities to not have them cross over a little bit. What that does is going to take your casual NASCAR fan or your casual racing fan, say, well, hell, if Strahan can do it, why don't I just check it out? Because they're going to be promoting the hell out of that Indianapolis 500 during their 14 race or during their 10 race NASCAR coverage.
Yeah, and I think that once you get to the probably even bigger in the NFC Championship, depending who it is, they're really going to be pushing Fox. Figure out a way to tie in the two 500s, Daytona and Indianapolis. They're going to figure out a way to really package those things together to where, I think it's a really big deal. I mean, I know folks that may kind of be newer to the sport maybe don't think this way, but I do. The fact that, like we've talked about, I mean, the fact that Daytona and Indianapolis are on the same freaking network. I mean, that's a really big deal. And
that's a bigger deal for IndyCar than it is for NASCAR.
Absolutely. And the fact that IndyCar can kind of now piggyback on that, and they're going to figure out a way. Fox is going to figure out a way to where it's funny. A lot of people like Fox News, but they hate Fox Sports. And I'm like, that's the same thing. They're the same company. They're tying this thing together. Fox is really going to make a big deal for the Indianapolis 500, and I think get in front of a lot of NASCAR people, which I think is great.
As you know, who the biggest winner of that deal is going to be is going to end up being IndyCar for two reasons. Number one is it's going to get all the public, every single NASCAR race leading up to that's going to have a commercial for the Indianapolis 500.
Yep.
Right. And this is the last year for the triple. This Monaco's moving. So what's going to happen there is that everybody's going to know. I'll just ask you. We just said it. What channel is the Indianapolis 500 going to be on?
Fox.
Be on Network Fox. What channel is the Coca-Cola World 600 going to be on?
I don't know.
Amazon Prime Video.
See, that's where I really think that
that's a whole nother can of worms to open up that one. I ain't paying for that shit. Well, you pay for it now when it's on USA.
Yeah, it's you're going to watch a movie, you're going to watch a sitcom. I mean, you're paying for that anyway. Just look for it. It's going to be there. But I think that's man. If Fox could have figured out a way to have both of those on, my God, that's your whole day, Bobby. You get up in the morning and whatever you're going to do with Monaco. Indianapolis starts, that shit goes all afternoon, and then boom, you go right into.
It would be amazing if Fox covered that all day.
Man, that would be that truly would be, and I know the short track people won't agree, but that would be the greatest day in motorsports. You park it in Austin on Channel 7, and it's all day. Yeah, bad move, NASCAR. Bad move. IndyCar will benefit. It's gonna be a really big thing, and the fact that. I like what they did yesterday. They went with the willpower car. They pulled that thing out there, and I see people talking about Michael Strahan. That's a military guy, y'all. Calm down. Leave him alone. Just enjoy the fact that racing's about to get pretty cool, I think, on that day.
Gonna get mainstream is what it's.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
but this will be the time for IndyCar to start creating their own stars.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows who Alex Palou is. Scott Dixon is not in the prime of his career anymore. Will Power is not in the prime of his career anymore. Nobody knows who Scott McLaughlin is. Helio Castroneves is gone, or not in the prime of his career. Like you notice, I'm not saying anybody new because nobody knows them.
Yeah,
there aren't any. Nobody knows the next superstar coming out of Indianapolis. So it's the opportunity that's something for Fox to create. And that's something right now, the biggest name that we know in IndyCar in 2025 is Haley Deegan running the IndyCar Next Series.
IndyCar Next Series, yeah. And it's a damn shame because, the name you said right there, Alex Palou. That
3 out of 4, and nobody knows who the hell he is.
Yeah, that dude. We just had, did you watch Vegas? Did you stay up for that?
Hmm?
Oh, I didn't. I stayed up for the start, and then I dozed off.
George Russell whooped their ass, but it was good racing. It was a typical 10-second win or 5-second win. Mm-hmm. The ones that were racing close together were racing pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And this is where I do go back to where I think with the Fox thing for IndyCar, that this is really where Fox can kind of dive into that open wheel thing, because you've got the North American influence of Formula One, to where they've just taken this thing over. And I think if Fox can market this right and get these guys in front of people, Stingray, all these different guys, tell the stories, do what Formula One has done. Liberty Media, when we talk about the growth of Formula One and everything that's happened, Liberty Media, those are the ones where it's like they saved Formula One, because they bought that and they put it in front of all these people that were just yearning for stories. And COVID hit at the same time. That just happened to work out. That was a bad situation. But look at this.
Well, when Drive to Survive hit during COVID, you had two things to watch: the Tiger King and Drive to Survive, because it wasn't that's the biggest problem with Drive to Survive. It's not the current season. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's everything the previous season before. I've talked to some people at a mutual friend's house. They knew I was a racing guy. I had a couple of racing radio shows, and they started talking about Formula One. And I asked them a new question. I said something about a current, race. Oh, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Well, I thought you were a Formula One fan. Oh, I watched Drive to Survive. I'm like, dude, you're a year and a half behind, dude.
Yeah. And that's a funny thing, like with NASCAR, where they've tried to do these things. I mean, they don't work. I mean, they don't have that grip.
But it's not the same. If you took the NASCAR shit and took it overseas, it might work, because the Americans, it's a total different language.
Yep.
You know, they say shit on their TV shows over there that we couldn't get away with over here. Yeah. Same thing with the what they talk about on Drive to Survive. You know, there ain't no SEC regulations on Netflix, so they say typical English phrases over there, and over here we're like, that's funny. I can't believe they said that. But nobody bats an eye, you know. So that's why when you hear the same quote unquote, hate to say it, redneck NASCAR guy on TV, and then you hear him on Netflix, it doesn't do the same thing for you.
Yeah. And I think that's where, you know, with NASCAR, I mean, the fact that Joey Logano keeps winning these championships, I mean, it's a really great thing that he's done. I mean, everything, but he's boring. I mean, you listen to him talk, and
Chase Elliott's worse. He's a recluse.
And he just keeps winning most popular drivers. How does that work?
Well, how many did Dale Jr. win and wasn't the champion? Kevin Harvick said it best. It's not a good thing when your most popular driver is not the guy winning the most races.
Yeah. And that's the thing where Dale Jr. now, I mean, I think if we had that Dale Jr. that he is now, you know, moving needles and doing all the different things as a cup driver, I think that would have been cool. But when Chase Elliott's winning all these, I had some people reach out to me and it's like, how did he win again? I'm like, because people know his dad.
Well, it's not sponsored by McDonald's anymore. That helps. But
well, and that's what I think NASCAR should do. I mean, if they really want to get crazy with this, I mean, back in the old days of pro wrestling, you had the most popular and then you had the most hated. Give that damn award out. I mean, Denny Hamlin would be the winner, I'm assuming, or Bubba Wallace. I mean, one of those guys would win. Because it's the guys in the black hat that are more entertaining. I mean, seriously, Chase Elliott, I love the guy. But damn, most popular for what? I mean, and who's next? I mean, I don't know who would be next.
Blaney.
Same thing. Oh, shucks. Yeah, you know, I mean, I don't get it. And that really is where when we look at and we have that correlation there to it with Formula One, I mean, Max Verstappen, yeah, he says things. He's boring. I mean, he's whatever. Lewis, he's boring.
He's outspoken, but he's boring.
Yeah. You know, so that's where when you start getting into these things, it's like the face and all this stuff. I mean, honestly, for me, when it comes to NASCAR, to me, I mean, the best spokesman for NASCAR right now is Denny Hamlin, because he bucks the system. He says shit that people want to say. He's like that Stone Cold Steve Austin. Remember that Attitude Era back in the WWE? It was Stone Cold Steve Austin that was pissed off at the boss, and people loved it, you know, because he got out there and he said the things you didn't want. Everything you want to say to your boss, Stone Cold said it. And that's where I think that Denny Hamlin does that. I mean, it was, I don't know. It was Stone Cold Steve Austin said this. Ratings through the roof.
January 2025, Attitude is coming back on Netflix.
There it is. Think they can handle that? They got their servers in line.
Well, like they said, if WWE's got 60 million people trying to watch Monday Night Raw, that's a hell of a problem to have.
That's a good problem. Yeah. If the servers quit, that's okay. We will figure that out next week. But anyway, yeah. I mean, and that's the off-season stuff that we can talk about kind of going into Daytona, because it's like, I mean, and the whole thing is, I mean, even with the Truex thing, because that kind of became a story this week as well, you know, with the awards and everything that was going on, to where it's like Truex was going to drive for 2311. Well, no, I'm not. I'm assuming he's going to be in a Gibbs car. So we just sent him out on the chariot horse, retiring so he can race again for the same team.
We'll see. He needs to get him a Daytona 500.
I agree. I mean, I think, to me, an
extra championship and a Daytona 500 is the only thing missing off that resume.
Yeah, man.
Because he should have won. He should have won a championship in 2018 when they put the two left side tires on the wrong side.
Yeah. to me, I think the coolest story would be, and you go back and you think about this, 5-6 years ago, if Kyle Busch, that didn't win a race for the 20th consecutive year, 19th, whatever that was, if that dude wins the Daytona 500, a race that he has not been able to win, he's going to be the most popular driver, or he should be,
I don't know. He's pulled well ever since he moved away from them foreign manufacturers that are built in the USA.
No, everybody loves him. He went to RCR. Oh, that's my guy. I've always loved that guy. He's still a butthole. So, anyway, NASCAR. We will definitely be breaking that down in the off season.
Speaking of NASCAR, Bowman Gray sold out.
Bowman Gray, even with all the changes.
Yeah, and they added a Madhouse modified race to it too on Saturday.
Oh man! So who's going? Is it the regular people that go there all the time with all these changes, or
apparently those people, the locals, were all pissed off. I don't know how they sold all those tickets.
Soft walls? We can't have that.
You can't have that for Madhouse.
Come on, man. Oh Lord, Bobby, why do we keep doing this show? We hate this sport so bad. Why do we keep doing this?
Because it's fun. What the hell else are we gonna do on a Monday night?
It's fun. We have nothing else to do because football will end, and we have nothing else to do because I was talking to another friend today. Excuse me, different network, different platform, and he goes, "We got 2 shows left this year." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Yeah, we're going to do 2 more shows, and then we'll take a break until March." Take a break? You're missing the best part. That's when you
get so much done in the off season.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Why are you going to stop? This show never quits. The show never quits. It just goes on and on forever and ever.
Check out the archives. You'll know for sure.
Yeah, it's like when you get the shits and they just won't stop. That's what this show does. It just keeps going. Just keeps going.
I can't even.
Good way to end right there, right?
I can't even follow that up. I just,
Yeah. Good way to close this out as we approach 500 viewers. All right, all of you, thank you for being a part of the program here once again, checking in on all the different spots. RevvedUpSportsShow.com for the audio archives that are going to be there. Like Bobby talked about on the YouTube page, you can find all of the great guests that we have had in the past. As we get into the off season, that's when we start pulling in those legends, man. That's and like we talked about, I mean, that off season, that's kind of the best part, because that's when we could pull those folks in that they're like, hey, let's tell some stories.
And let us know who you want to hear from.
Yeah,
that's the best way. Hit us up. Let us know who you want to hear from.
Yeah. If you've got, message Bobby on Twitter, myself, and we'd love to try to figure out a way to talk to those great folks. Doesn't have to just be Texans, because we talked to Ron Fellows on this show before. So, and he's not Texan, and he's not from Florida or Mississippi or Alabama. So we talked to all of them. We would love
Rachel. Well, actually, I guess Rachel Brooks was on the other show, but
oh yeah, that was fun. Long legs. Anyway, so looking forward to the off season right here. We're going to do it again next Monday. I think I'm doing some traveling, so we might have to. I think we'll be fine for that. But anyway, continue to hit us up on the socials and all the different spots, and we'll
subscribe to the YouTube channel.
That's what I'm talking about. Big thanks to Ricky Brooks. He got the Big League 128 happening at the Freedom Factory this weekend. Be sure and check that out. A big thanks to Memphis Villarreal checking in as he's post Snowball and talking about everything he's doing there. And, of course, our man Jared Moppin. So all of you, have a great weekend. Bobby, Thanksgiving plans, my man. What you got?
Still working on my golf cart restoration project. Should have that starting to be, it's not quite halfway done. Mm-hmm. Working on that deal. Got to do some work around my parents' house, trying to build a sidewalk. If anybody knows how to build sidewalks, hit me up on the socials, because I need help building a sidewalk. Other than that, just I actually get a chance to relax for a couple of days. It looks like. So that's an interesting thing. We're working on some website stuff. We have a little updated look to the Revved Up page, updated look to my page. So yeah, it'll be a couple of nice days here. Just one more day at the office and then a couple of days off.
Yes, sir. So you guys be sure to check in, and we will do it again next Monday. Bobby's down south. I am up north. Thank you all for being a part of the program, and we just do what we do. # Real Race Talk. It is the Revved Up Sports Show every Monday right here. You guys check in. We'll do it again next Monday.